This afternoon, ECOWAS Community Court of Justice dismisses injunction application by former Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu seeking to halt the work of the committee that investigated her removal from office.
Also, Minister of Roads and Highways announces major clampdown on overloaded vehicles, insisting that excess loads will now be seized, auctioned, and the proceeds directed to the state coffers.
Plus, by the numbers today, we take a close look at 2026 budget and what is shaping government's expenditure. All those are the top stories. You're welcome to News Central. I'm Kemini Amanor.
And I am Mawuena Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now. Now, the Economic Community of West Africa Court of Justice, ECOWAS Court, sitting in Abuja, Nigeria, has dismissed the preliminary objections filed by the Republic of Ghana challenging its jurisdiction to hear and determine the legality of the suspension of the former Chief Justice Gertrude Arabaisaba Tokonu. Now, in a ruling delivered today, the judges of the court unanimously held that the case is admissible and that the court has jurisdictional competence to hear it. Ghana, through the Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Justice Ramsay, had argued that the substantive application is manifestly inadmissible and that the court is manifestly incompetent to assume jurisdiction over the substantive application. And lastly, that the substantive application does not disclose any chance of success. However, the court dismissed the application the motion by the Ghanaian attorneys and also dismissed the application by the Chief Justice for provisional measures on the ground that the suspension had taken place over 3 months before she approached the court for legal redress. Ghana was subsequently given 30 days within which to file its defense to the substantive case.
While the applicant met the 5-year timeline for applying for review, but their failure to satisfy the requirements of the new facts renders the compliance invaluable, as the requirement of admissibility of an application for review are cumulative. The absence of one of them is sufficient to endanger the admissibility of the application. In the light of the foregoing, the court hereby declares that the application for revision of judgment number ECW/CCJ/JUD/44/23 delivered on the 24th of November 2023 is inadmissible. And for that reason, sitting in public, the court declares that it has jurisdiction to determine this case. However, declares the application is inadmissible and orders each party to bear the cost. The full complement of this judgment will be made available to parties upon signature by panel members.
Thank you. Yes, counsel.
Me for the applicant?
Yeah, the applicant.
We want to say to the court, in as much as some, view that was on the matter. The only contentious issue we had to raise this court was the issue earlier. As the court said that the simply repeat.
And that's the former CJ's attorneys as they were addressing the court. Let's try and bring you a bit more from this with respect. The Deputy Attorney General, who was representing the state, has been writing on the back of that hearing today. Let's take you to our big screens right now and get an understanding as to what it is that he's been saying in the aftermath of that particular ruling. And then we'll subject this to a bit more in terms of scrutiny and possibly take you to the legislature as well for quick reactions as to what's been happening, because we know the minority had been making a strong point that, look, there were matters pending before the court, and one of such reasons why they did not partake in the vetting of the Chief Justice Paul Bafuboni. But here's what the Deputy Attorney General has been saying, that the ECOWAS court has this morning dismissed Mrs. Justice Gertrude Tokonu's application for interim measures. The court stated that the application did not satisfy the criteria for a grant of interim measures. More particularly, the court held that the applicant's own conduct defeats her claim of imminent and irreparable harm. The court is therefore satisfied that the applicant has not demonstrated the existence of eminent or exceptional circumstance that would justify the urgency of the application filed almost 3 months after the act complained of. In the light of the applicant's failure to meet the requirement of urgency, the court finds no basis to assess the remaining criteria for provisional measures, same being cumulative. The request for provisional measures as outlined by the applicant, same not substantiated, is therefore dismissed. And so these interim measures, if we could break it down, the former Chief Justice was praying the ECOWAS court to, in the immediacy, deliver judgment on her behalf, so she's declared a victor. And the court said, well, they could not do that because the irreparable harm that she saw is arguing as a basis. Well, she came to the courts after a while, 3 months after the action, which was her suspension and the subsequent work of the committee started. She came to the court 3 months afterwards. And so there was no immediate urgency and a basis upon which they will grant her that demand. Also, the Attorney General, that's the deputy, they raised the subject matter of whether or not the court had jurisdiction to hear the matter brought before them by Madame Tokonu. Essentially, an argument the Attorney General seems to make in almost every suit they are a part of. They challenge the jurisdiction of the court to hear the matter, and the courts dismiss same. And so that's what happened today. 2 applications, motions, call it what, dismiss, one for Madame Tokonu, the other for the Attorney General, who were challenging the jurisdiction of the court to hear the matter as brought before them by Madame Tokonu. And subsequently, the Attorney General has been given 30 days upon which he can file his defense, and then they'll return to the court for a substantive date upon which the matter will be heard, and then there will be the delivery of a verdict on the case as brought by Madame Tokonu. Let's bring back a recent interview my colleague Joseph Akable had with the Deputy Attorney General, Justice Tremsai, who challenged the jurisdiction of the ECOWAS court to hear this particular matter, which has now been ruled on.
We woke up to another process which was served on us from the court, that the former Chief Justice is seeking judgment in default of defense. In other words, that we've not defended the substantive suit. We had 30 days to do so, and that we have not filed our defense. But our preliminary thought is that if we are objecting to the jurisdiction of the court, and the court has taken argument and has adjourned to give a ruling one way or the other, we do not exactly think that we have to file on the substantive issue, because the question before the court is whether the court has jurisdiction. The court has to clear that aspect first, and when it says that it has jurisdiction to assume, then they will order us to file our defense. And indeed, if the court was interested in getting the court could have ordered that we should file our defense together with our preliminary objection, because we were heard. It's not as if we argued that matter in court, in the ECOWAS court, and we were heard. And the court in adjourning didn't give any further direction. They told us that they are rising, and then they have adjourned the case, indefinitely. And when they come back, they will give us further directions. So we were waiting for the court to give us further direction, only to be served with a notice for default of defense. So that is where we are at the moment.
So what are the next steps? You'll be applying for that to be thrown out as well?
Yeah, we would have to file to oppose the application for default judgment.
And that's Justice Tremsai, as the Deputy Attorney General, doctor as well, speaking to my colleague Joseph Akable some time ago on the subject matter of jurisdiction. Well, the court says it has jurisdiction. Let's take you to Parliament right now, where my colleague Christian Yale is hoping to get a bit of reactions from some members of Parliament on this latest we're hearing from ECOWAS. Christian, talk to us. Has there been any reaction, particularly from the minority who sought to boycott the vetting of the Chief Justice, Paul Bafuboni, on the back of one of such cases, one being heard today?
Eric, so as of now, I can tell you that I have made some contact to the minority side, especially those who speak on constitutional and legal matters. And as of yet, because it is also a fresh decision that has been taken by the court, they would want to tarry a bit in making some, reactions to it. But just a while ago, even I engaged about two of the MPs on the minority side who are equally lawyers who understand the issues and how they are, and they've all indicated that as of now they wouldn't want to comment yet on the issue. But and just as you had indicated, it is one of the issues that the minority members have been referring to before the vetting of the Chief Justice, the new Chief Justice. They had sent a motion to the Speaker's office demanding that the vetting of Paul Bafuboni be halted until one of those 7 active cases, which one happens to be what the ECOWAS court has decided on today, has been dealt with and determined. Again, even during the vetting itself, it was one of the issues that the minority leader had sought to raise, that since that case is also there, we should wait for the determination. Right after the vetting, yet again on the floor, he had again sought to make his case on that same front. And so when you look at all the 7 cases that Gertrude Torkornoo has filed at the respective court, the ECOWAS court, the High Court, and that at the Supreme Court as well.
Thank you very much, Christian. We'll have to connect with you a lot later on what is expected in Parliament. But let's speak to former Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Ayiku Utu. He is also the lead counsel for Gertrude Torkornoo. Counsel, I appreciate you joining us. Your immediate reaction to this ruling by the ECOWAS court, you were seeking some interim judgment in your favor, but the court says there was a lack of urgency because of the many things that you should have done, you came to the court late.
Well, thank you. But the point is that for me, this is not newsworthy at all. You should not be wasting your time reporting this matter. What should be reporting is the preliminary confession that the government through the Attorney General went to take.
I'm actually going to come to that, but I was just finishing on the subject matter of the court stressing that.
You let me land. I have started from somewhere. When I land, you understand. You see, when the matter went there, what they said was that the court has no jurisdiction to hear the matter because there are cases pending in Ghana. You remember?
Yes.
And then we said no. For the ECOWAS court, so long as there is an issue of breach of fundamental human rights, you can come there, whether a case is pending elsewhere or not. So that's what we said. Now, we have succeeded. Now, I'm going back to give you the background. I know where you belong and the kind of things that people talk there. But I'm telling you that, look, the background is that this is not newsworthy. When the woman went to ECOWAS court and also went to the High Court in Accra and went to the Supreme Court, he told everybody that while this case is pending, please hold your horses. Let us see the ruling. They said they will not have any of them. They went and presented their reports. They went and nominated a new person. They took the person to Parliament. Even the minority said, no, what you are doing is wrong. There are cases pending. Let's hold on. They said they will not hear anything. Then they went ahead and now sworn in a new Chief Justice.
What do you think they have done to the ECOWAS court? They have fixed them with a fair complaint. That we are finished and we now have a new Chief Justice. So what is the point of giving any interim measure at this stage? It's better to hear the case. So what the ECOWAS court is saying is that, look, as far as these interim matters are concerned, we are no longer interested. We are no longer interested. We want to hear the matter. So you have not filed your response yet. We are giving you 30 days.
All right.
Go and file your response so that we go into the matter, whether or not fundamental human rights have been breached. That is where we are. So this one, it is not newsworthy for you to be talking about it, because we all know that there is a new chief that's doing this warning. So what are you talking about? What is it? What is it that we are happily and newly, talking? What? This is not of any newsworthy. As far as I'm concerned, it is not newsworthy.
Right.
They have fixed them with fair complaint and they are finished, and that's all. The ECOWAS court said, well, if this is the matter, let's forget about it and go into the matter itself, the substantive issue. That's all.
And that substantive issue, I hear you on the fact that this is not newsworthy, but we have insisted on reporting everything as has happened, including mentioning that the Attorney General's argument about a lack of jurisdiction of the court was indeed dismissed, and we've run viewers through that. But on the subject matter of the fact that you make the arguments that a new Chief Justice has been brought on board amongst many other things, and the court says they are not interested in those interim matters, where does it leave your substantive case?
Oh, the substantive case is a different matter altogether. In the sense that, look, when a case is pending and you go and ask for an interim injunction, the DSS will not grant it. It doesn't mean that at the end of the day, he will still not give you judgment. For example, you have to weigh what we call the hardship on the parties. The necessity and all that. How relevant will granting the application be? A whole lot of factors will be taken into consideration. It doesn't mean that they are going into the substantive matter, but the law is they don't have to touch the substantive matter at all when they are dealing with interim matters. So as far as we are concerned, they have rather made a point quite clearly that the former Chief Justice has demonstrated fashion that rights have been violated, for which reason they want to get into the bottom of the matter. That is the issue now.
If we move away from the ECOWAS court and return to Ghana as well, similar such applications are pending before the court. You've mentioned the minority raising concerns about why these pending cases should not have resulted in the appointment and subsequent approval of Parliament and the swearing in of a new CJ. Are you and the former Chief Justice concerned about what some say is a delay in hearing these substantive matters pending before the courts back here in Ghana?
You heard Afenyo Maki making all those points. Even as at the time, just like they did in the ECOWAS court, they refused to file their responses. And then just when they were about to bring the new Chief Justice nominee to Parliament, then the Attorney General goes to ask for 3 weeks adjournment, within which extension of time within which he will file a response. You heard Afenyo Maki saying so. The chairman said he will not have to hear anything about that. Anything which has to do with the judge or the court, they are not there, so he will not listen. The chairman who was presiding. So it is not that these issues have not been raised. We have raised it several times as lawyers. That all your fire. Even if you remember, we did not conclude the hearings at the Puama Committee because they have adjourned the case to a date when they will hear other complaints. The date did not arrive, and they went quickly and presented the report. We said all these things already. So that's why I'm saying that this is not newsworthy. I don't know what they are fully, shouting over. What have they done? In fact, there is evidence I can show to you that the lawyer in Nigeria, Falana, wrote to the committee that the way they were going about this matter, that is the court, and all the matters happening, we are no longer interested in the interim application. The letter is there asking whether he was not safe. Ask the Attorney General whether he hasn't got a copy. So we have already taken that decision. Now look, it's complete waste of everybody's time. Letter was written of them. You've been doing all sorts of things against this hearing. Let's go and hear the matter.
But you will agree with me that on matters of jurisdiction, and you've been Attorney General before as well, it is something that always comes up when there's a case involving the Attorney General. You, more often than not, want to question whether or not the forum upon which the court is being asked to listen to and determine a matter, the court does not have a jurisdiction.
What point do you want to prove? Because we are telling you.
I'm just making.
You must have a basis. You must have a basis for doing so. In all those other cases, you don't go to the international forum until you have exhausted the internal procedures.
Right.
But for the ECOWAS court, it is different. If you are talking about a breach of the fundamental human rights, so that court has jurisdiction. We told them, they didn't listen. And they went and raised that thing to waste everybody's time from the time the thing was filed up to today. They are now giving 1 month to go and file it. So it was baseless. The objection that they decided to take was complete, but had no legal basis.
Right.
They just went there to waste everybody's time.
Counsel, I appreciate you speaking to us always. Thank you very much. That's former Attorney General, the Honorable Ayiko, to speaking to us on the aftermath. He says that, look, that dismissal on their part, they had written already stating that they were no longer interested in it. And so the subsequent application by the Attorney General seeking to challenge the jurisdiction of the court has been a complete waste of everybody's time. Let's take you back to Parliament, because I mentioned we'll return to Christian, or to pick a bit more in terms of reaction to this. Christian is with a member of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee of the Legislature. Christian, talk to us. What is the House saying in reaction to what has played out this morning?
We are yet to hear from the minority, but Eric, you do understand that over the period, it is one of the cases that they have cited in protesting the appointment and vetting of the new Chief Justice, Paul Bafuboni. In fact, the motion that they had sent to the Speaker demanding a halt in all the processes leading to the vetting of the Chief Justice cited the ECOWAS case, which has been determined today. Again, even on during the vetting itself, the minority leader had sought to make that case as well. And even after the vetting and during the approval process in Parliament. And so we wait to see really what would be their immediate response or their reaction to this ruling. But I have with me a member of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee who is himself a lawyer as well, and I have had an earlier engagement with him before concerning this issue. Lawyer Fifi Bachman is the MP for Kwesi and a member of the Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee. What are your preliminary thoughts on the ECOWAS court's dismissal of Gertrude Tokonu's case?
Oh, it was anticipated. Some of us have stood on that, and I've always said that, looking at the circumstances of the case, I mean, going to the ECOWAS court, yes, you have the right to go to court, and sometimes I even make, mockery of it, that you can even go to the Hague because you have the right to do that. But that shouldn't be a stance on which you would say that her right has been trampled upon, etc., which goes fundamentally to affect her. And so everything should stand still, especially when we were vetting and approving the new Chief Justice. So it was anticipated, and I think that the ruling of the ECOWAS court is succinct and it sits with law and procedure, because for procedure, you are saying that you have an issue within your country. You have the right to go to the ECOWAS court. You have the right to go there to seek an interim, order or an application for an interim order. In that stance, or in that particular case, you'd have to prove something. You have to show that there is a special circumstance warranting they granting that application for you. But what they have said, if there is a special circumstance, then it should be within some time. We should show that there is a substantial miscarriage of justice, and that miscarriage of justice is affecting you, ASAP.
But the court also dismissed the preliminary objections by the Attorney General that it did not have the jurisdiction to sit on the case, and also establishes a prima facie of some violation of human rights against Gertrude Torkornoo. How would you respond to that briefly?
No, for that one, if you are saying that there are some fundamental rights, human rights breaches, we would have to get to know about it very well. Is it that there was some procedural impropriety? Is it that because everything boils down to human rights? So if the fundamental human right has been, violated, then we have to come back, look at it from the courts. But I think that all in all, the courts have shown fairness. The courts have decided that yes, they have the right to hear, because if they otherwise their appellate jurisdiction, that jurisdiction that they have, that if anything happens to somebody in a particular country forming membership, that person cannot go there. So they accept it, but they dealt with the substantive matter, which is very important and very a landmark, decision.
Thank you, Christian. Christian Yale is my colleague in Parliament there for us, helping us get an understanding in terms of a reaction from some members of Parliament. But we will switch now and bring you some other stories this afternoon here on News Central.
Now, the Minister of Roads and Highways, Kwame Gavin-Sagboja, says moving forward, there will be a clampdown on overloaded vehicles. He says this act has been discovered as a major destroyer of roads in the country. The minister emphasized that excess loads will be seized, auctioned, and the proceeds directed to the state.
We've had studies that show that even if we finish all the investment, call it 10 billion on the road, and we allow the current regime where people overload 180 tons, 150 tons on the road, it will still deteriorate within 3 years. We know that half of the problem comes from the Tema Port. The vehicles overload from Tema Port. And there are service providers that are contracted by the state. And if they are listening to me, we know. You are contracted by the state. You have built a weighing station at the port. Yet, some of these third-party service providers connive with some unpatriotic custom officers and allow vehicles to load and not use the weighbridge, and then they get away with it. And as you said, when they get onto the highways as well, the regime of the compliance enforcement has been lax, partly because the level of penalty. Currently, they charge the maximum 5,000. You may be aware that there's a fees and charges in Parliament that raises that penalty of 5,000 to 50,000. We believe that will be an amount of deterrent. We are also trying to work with the stakeholders that in the past, when you overload, they just tell you to offload the overloaded section and bring another truck to pick it, to pick the excess load. We are working with the stakeholders to say that now, when the overloaded portion is taken off, it's not given to you. It is auctioned and the proceed given to the state. We believe a combination of these things will be enough deterrent to stop people from overloading.
Meanwhile, the Roads Minister has justified the Finance Minister's audit of deaths in the road sector, assuring that contractors will receive every CD owed to them by government once justified.
Currently, and I must say that it's a very sad situation, and it's partly I'm a member of Parliament. I know how many members of Parliament insist and how many letters I have on my table from paramouncies, from churches, from businesses, everybody asking for their road to be awarded on contract at the same time, irrespective of what the budget can accommodate. So we at the time of transition, we were plagued with a contract on site in excess of 110 billion Ghana cedi. And the GOG certificate unpaid was about 21 billion. At the moment, the road fund unpaid bills is in excess of 6 billion. Cocoa Board, Cocoa Road Program, about 5 billion. So far more, almost close to 40 billion its old contractors across the range of agencies that were awarding road. I must say that the finance minister, on the orders of the president, authorized and paid some amount of money in excess of 5 billion in the last 2-3 weeks. Indeed, that would appear to be one of the biggest payments at a single time in our recent history as well. The question is, how is this government able to do all these things when the door is shut on us in terms of borrowing, and even the monies that were contracted through Parliament cannot be drawn down, another thing, efficiency and better leadership. Currently, and...
Well, we apologize for that, but that will take us on our very first break. When we come back, something to expect on By the Numbers. We'll take a closer look at the 2026 budget and what is shaping government's expenditure. All of that when we return. Don't go away. Now, as debate on the 2026 budget heats up in Parliament, many Ghanaians are looking beyond the big numbers to understand what is driving government spending and revenue decisions and how those choices will affect life at home. Today on By the Numbers, we take a closer look at the 2026 budget, what is shaping government's expenditure, revenue outlook, and what it all means for you and me. Mawuena, what are the numbers saying?
Well, today on By the Numbers, we're doing a special review of the budget vis-a-vis a lot of what it is that you said. And I'm not going to be doing this alone. Thankfully, I've been joined by Ebenezer Nyako, who is one of our lead researchers and consultants on a number of these matters. He's going to be joining us, and then we can begin a deep dive into the budget and also get to understand where a chunk of the money is going vis-a-vis what the size of our economy is as well. And so I'll take it from you and go straight to the dashboard and have Mr. Nyako join us as well. And thank you very much for joining us. And so I'll start with what this looks like as the size of our economy as we speak. As at 2020, we were at 380 million cedis.
Billion.
380 billion, I should say.
Cedis.
Now we're at $1 trillion.
Yes, in 2026, the economy is projected to hit 1.6 trillion.
Right.
So you can see that within a space of 6 years, the size of the Ghanaian economy has more than quadrupled.
Right.
But I want to explain two things. What is driving this expansion? The first one is the real growth in the economy. But the second thing that is fueling the expansion is the rate of inflation. So even though we see in nominal terms that the economy is expanding at a very fast pace, you remember 2022, 2023, 2024.
It hit 54% inflation.
So inflation is built up into this number. So that is why within a space of 6 years, the size of the Ghanaian economy has more than quadrupled.
Is this a good thing or it's not so great? Because you mentioned that inflation has fueled this as well, it leaves me wondering if we can make the case that this expansion of the Ghanaian economy is so great for us and to the extent that people can begin to feel it in their pockets as well.
Yeah, so there are two things. Maybe the next slide we'll look at other things, but what the nominal figures show is that you are growing, but you also have to be careful of inflation. The rate of expansion does not mean that people are necessarily getting richer. Okay, so if inflation is very high, when you deflate the numbers, they reduce. Inflation means that you are inflating the numbers. Right. That is all that it means. So these numbers, especially from 2023 up to 2024, the numbers were just inflated. And that is why we are hitting 1.6 trillion.
And that's a projection for 2026.
For 2026.
1.6 trillion in terms of... But this is the trend in terms of growth as well.
So this is the real GDP growth.
Right.
Okay, so this is the most important growth that you look out for. So from 2022, we can see that Ghana, we've done some level of average growth. You remember 2020, the COVID hit. So we did just 0.5%. But since then, we can also see that from 2022, we entered into the IMF program and the austerity measure that we went through. That is what we are seeing here. But the projection for 2026 is 4.8. In fact, the government from 2026 up to 2029 is looking at an average growth of 4.8. But you ask yourself, is the 4.8 that big enough to cause the transformation that is being talked about in the budget? I would say that looking at other developing economies and where we are, if we want to do that major transformation, we have to go beyond the 4.8. So the finance minister consistently say a minimum. What it means is that he's expecting that it will be far or it exceed these numbers. Because if we are going to grow by 4.8, that major transformation is not going to happen.
Well, it's important to add as well that for this year, as at the half year, we're not done with 2025, but we're at 6.3%. He had projected less than this.
Yes.
The same argument of minimum. But let's look at our revenue and what it is that we're looking forward to in 2026 as well, vis-a-vis what it is that we've been able to gather. There's a lot of talk about the fact that we couldn't hit revenue targets. Some say it's as a result of the performance of the city, and so amongst many other things, we haven't seen the money come in the way that we should expect. What can you tell us about that? And then what is the projection for the year 2026?
If you look at the revenue numbers, the shortfall mostly came from import duties. Because of the appreciation of the cedi, it makes import cheap, and that is what we are seeing in the numbers. All other tax handles are on course, domestic taxes and all the other taxes. But import duties is one of the main culprits that is going to cause the shortfall, if indeed it's going to be in the revenue sector. In the 2026, we are looking at 268.1 billion. That's what the government is projected to receive by way of revenue. But because the size of the economy is expanding, it's better to look at it in terms of the revenue
ratio to
exactly.
GDP.
And you see that in 2026, we are projected to hover around 16.8. And I think that will be a marginal improvement because historically
we haven't quite hit these numbers.
We are around 15.9, 15.8. So 16.8 will be a big leap considering where we are coming from. So I think that is where we stand by way of revenue.
And we'll do a quick breakdown of where we're expecting these 16.8 ratio to GDP is coming from. We're seeing tax revenue, non-tax revenue, and then other revenue and grant as well. Perhaps I want to skip this and have us talk about our oil receipts as well and the revenue from there, because we know PIAC has been raising red flags about the fact that that's been on the decline, but there's a projection that could go up for the year 2026.
Even in 2026, we are just receiving 13.6 billion. Which is going to be still less than 1% of our GDP.
So we haven't quite scratched the 1.98% we saw in 2022.
Yeah, so let us face it, oil revenue receipts are going down. Okay, so if you look through the budget, there is effort to revamp the sector. But the receipts from the oil sector, volumes have dropped. I mean, from January to September, we did around 27.9 million barrels, which is way below the 50 millions we were doing previously. So that is the state of our oil industry and revenue currently.
And we see that comparatively against the GDP ratio as well, in terms of looking at the other areas from which we're going to be getting our revenue. There's been a lot of talk about tax to GDP ratio and where we're not performing to scratch as compared to other African countries. There's an attempt to improve that in the next year's budget.
Yeah, but our tax to GDP ratio is very low. We have to all accept that because averaging in Africa, they are doing 16%.
We haven't even hit 15%.
Cote d'Ivoire is doing around 18%. So if we are still around 14 and 14.4, that's the projected, it means that we have a long way to go. So the tax regime, I mean, I think they are trying to introduce the ITAS in the 2026, but I think they've introduced that one. And maybe it may help to revamp the tax base for the country.
There's a lot of talk about compliance, but this is the COVID-19 levy which has been removed.
Exactly.
And that, if it were to stay, perhaps this will be more than 14.4%, you'd agree.
Slightly. But you see, so this amount is what the finance minister said is being given directly.
Putting back into pockets.
Exactly. So what people would have paid for now, it is being transferred directly because it has been abolished. Now people can have more money in their pockets. So this is what the finance minister is saying regarding that.
But there's a trend I see in relation to our tax. It appears it performs better every year. And these are the projections of the numbers we could have received from COVID-19 levy, even though we've abolished. I want us to quickly look at our expenditure trends, particularly because we're seeing that a huge chunk of it will be going into wages and salaries, interest payment, and then capital expenditure as well. Talk to us about this, and then perhaps we can take this home.
Yeah, so these three areas are key areas that we all are concerned with. Wages and salaries, 2026, we are looking at 5.1%, and it is in line with historical figures. Okay, interest payments, 3.6%. Also in line with historical figures. If you remember, we suspended interest payment for beginning 2023.
To renegotiate a number of these debts.
Exactly. But I want to also speak with regard to the capital expenditures. Okay, government has talked so much about the big push, the roads that are coming, but you realize that the expenditure to GDP is 3.6. And historically, capital expenditure to GDP has hovered between 3 and 4. So even though there's too much talk about it, in terms of the percentage to GDP, it is not extraordinary. Okay, so you realize that we are going to have the numbers, because the size of the economy is bigger, the nominal amounts are going to be bigger. But in terms of the rate to GDP, you realize that it's still within the historical rate.
Mr. Nyako, thank you very much. I'm sure we'll get the opportunity to have a bit more in terms of these analysis, but always great to have you join us and look at these numbers. And so from all of the taxes we're going to be receiving, a huge chunk will go into interest payment, capital expenditure, and then the payment of wages and salaries. That's it for you by the way of By the Numbers. And when we return from this quick break, we take you around the regions for Regional Hub. Stay with us.
Now, residents of Tabosre, a farming community in the Amansie South district of the Ashanti region, are raising safety concerns following the invasion of illegal miners in the area. The assembly member, together with his 2 units committee members, have filed the community or have fled the community after they were allegedly attacked by the miners for speaking against illegal mining activities there. Ibrahim Al-Hassan is our correspondent following the story. Let's join him for Ibrahim Abubakar, is our correspondent on the story. Let's join him now with a bit more from the Amansie South district. Ibrahim, talk to us. What else do we know about this developing story in Tabosre?
Well, Kemini, this has been a mining community for a long time. In fact, illegal mining activities have been going on for a long time, but they are saying that the current extent is quite devastating. So somewhere from June, we had some group of people who came into the community to tell them that they are coming to overtake some of the mining sites. And these are all illegal miners. So the assembly member, together with some unit committee members, when they realized that the activities were polluting their only source of water and also destroying the land, they confronted them and asked them that no, they wouldn't allow them to continue with their illegal activity. And that was when the alleged brutalities started. So as I speak to you, the assembly members, some unit committee members, and also other residents have fled the community. And for the past 3-4 months, they've not been able to access the community because these guys are still in the community wielding machetes, guns, and are still doing their illegal activity. So currently, you go to Tabosre community, you realize that most of the men there have fled because they fear for their safety. And for that matter, these miners are still there doing their illegality, polluting water bodies, destroying the farmlands. And the community is just pleading with authorities to be able to step in, especially NIMO, so that at least they'll have their community back and be able to continue with their other farming activity. The assembly member and some of the unit committee members who have fled the community spoke to us whilst at Manson Quanta. Let's listen to briefly what they have been sharing with us.
When these metro men invaded in the community, people's lives has been threatened, beaten in some cases, and chased out of the community. The latest among the casualties are 2 of my community's members. They are here. The chairman included was attacked and others were beaten, brutalized, and humiliated daylight without mercy and no one to rescue. Myself has been threatened and warned not to step a foot in the community. For close to 6 months now, I have not been able to perform my duty as an assembly member. Not only that, my report has been sent to police commander and the necessary authorities, but brutalities, intimidation, humiliation, and victimization of people there continue with impunity, with none coming to our aid. I use this opportunity to appeal for immediate government intervention and to rescue the situation of the people of Tabosre.
Ibrahim, thank you so much for the report. And Ibrahim Abubakar is our Ashanti region correspondent. Now, as a measure of ensuring good financial management and accountability in the health sector, the Ghana Health Service has trained district health planning and budgeting officers across all 5 northern regions. The training aims to ensure better alignment of health spending with policy priorities and to promote optimal and equitable resource allocation to improve access to quality healthcare services for all.
Priorities in Ghana's public sector have increased significantly, with the Auditor General's reports identifying major issues such as cash, procurement, and payroll irregularities. Implementing strong public financial management is crucial for aligning how money is managed with health financing policy to promote optimal and equitable resource allocation and improve access to quality healthcare services for all. The Ghana Health Service through the FCDO-funded Public Financial Management Project, is taking strategic steps.
Information is power, and financial information is real power. And that's how we improve equitable access to healthcare. And improving transparency of financial expenditure is really important, because it's only once you have the information that shows where the finances are going.
Speaking at a training workshop organized for officers responsible for planning and budgeting at the Ghana Health Service District Health Directorates across all 5 northern regions, Deputy Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Caroline Reindorf Emisa, highlighted the importance of the initiative.
That transparency and accountability is very important. Be it government funding, be it donor funding, whoever provides funds for any activity, any interventions that are put in place or implemented, they are expecting to get some feedback. So we give activity reports, but sometimes our financial reports are lacking. The training we are having is going to help their staff be able to account for funds that they get with a click of a button. So
British High Commissioner to Ghana, Christian Rogge, noted that resource availability is crucial in the health service delivery system if Ghana wants to attain health sovereignty.
National government's, President Mahama's agenda when it comes to health. And he has spoken very powerfully about a concept called health sovereignty. And of course, with that vision, it is very important that the revenues generated locally, that people believe in using the money well, and that good services are provided with the resources. And that depends on everything I said earlier.
Well, now it's time for us to go.
Absolutely. I am Mawuena Egbeta.
And I am Kemini Amanor. Next is the afternoon show. We'll see you same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.